on, but you have to look at the rest of this team.
Yeah.
Is Zach Wilson the reason this team can't win certain games? Is Zach Wilson holding them back from their top potential?
For nearly 50 years by this point, the New York Jets have failed to find a successful NFL quarterback, whether that be through free agency or the NFL draft itself. The Jets, since the retirement of legendary quarterback Joe Namath back in the year 1976, have failed to find a starter through their first 40 starting quarterbacks ever since Namath has retired. While some have had fluke flashes of success, the Jets have yet to find a starter who can sustain that type of success for years as a franchise quarterback. The Jets, just like the Bears, are another team who have yet to find that true franchise guy as of now.
Pass to Richardson. He has the ball. The game is over. The New York Jets are the world champions. They have upset the Baltimore Colts and beat them handily here today.
Following the 1968 Super Bowl victory over the Baltimore Colts, Joe Namath and the Jets were on top of the football world. But almost as quickly as the Jets rose, they fell off a cliff and fell apart under Namath. Following the 1969 playoffs, in which they lost a close 13-6 game to the future Super Bowl champions and the Kansas City Chiefs, the Jets would regress and never make the playoffs again under Namath. By 1976, Namath was entering his age 33 season and had gone 33-42 since the 1969 Super Bowl. Namath had regressed every single season and was coming off back-to-back seasons where he led the league in interceptions, throwing 22 interceptions in 1974 and 28 in 1975. In 1976, the drafts took Joe Namath's successor in Alabama's Richard Todd, who had won the 1975 Sugar Bowl MVP over Penn State with hopes he would develop into a star quarterback. The original plan was to let Todd learn behind Namath for a season, but that plan was tossed out the window when Namath was benched for Todd almost immediately into his rookie year, and turned into a disaster. Despite only starting 6 games, Todd threw 12 interceptions to just 3 touchdowns. The Jets would finish 3-11. His first 5 seasons were pretty similar to his rookie year, with Todd struggling to be consistent, with him having a 19-34 record while throwing twice as many picks as touchdowns. The Jets during this time also drafted Georgia's Matt Robinson, who would start in place of Todd in 1978, with him going 6-5 and even outplaying Todd for a little bit. This resulted in a quarterback controversy, with fans and the media wanting Robinson to be the full-time starter. Todd did not take the disrespect well and punched a member of the media, resulting in him being fined for the incident. The Jets also drafted terribly during this time, with them taking Chris Ward 4th overall in 1978 and Johnny Lamb Jones 2nd overall in the 1980 draft. During this time, the Jets also would pass on upgrading at the quarterback position. This would include passing on Pro Bowler Tommy Kramer in 1977, Neil Lomax in 1981, who was a 2-time Pro Bowler with the Arizona Cardinals, and Hall of Famer Joe Montana, who was a Hall of Fame quarterback for the 49ers. All of whom would have been an upgrade over Todd. Patience with Todd finally worked out as head coach Walt Michael finally got the Jets on the right foot, going 10-5-1 while letting Todd have a career year in which he threw for 3,200 yards to go along with 25 touchdowns and just 13 interceptions. During the season, they also clinched a playoff appearance for the first time since 1969, and despite a quick exit in the 1981 playoffs, hopes for the 82 season were rewarded, as despite a shortened season, the Jets were able to make the playoffs again. The Jets' high-flying offense was able to upset the Bengals and Raiders to reach the AFC Championship game against their division rival Miami Dolphins. Sadly, this was the peak of the Todd era, as in the AFC Championship game, the terrible conditions played right into Miami's hands as they picked off Todd 5 times during an ugly 14-0 loss, where the only touchdowns that game were a pick-6 and a short rushing touchdown from the Dolphins themselves. To this day, Jets fans allege the Dolphins coach Don Shula purposely didn't put the tarp over the field the night before the game in order to give his team an advantage. Following the game, Walt Michaels resigned from head coaching duties, and the Jets would hire Joe Walton.
Jets take the first-round selection, quarterback, Ken O'Brien of California Davis.
The Jets in 1983 were looking to upgrade at the quarterback position, and thankfully they were rewarded with them being able to draft in the iconic 1983 draft class, which featured 3 future Hall of Fame quarterbacks at the position. This also included Pitt's Dan Marino, who is still available and the Jets were able to select, though they selected Ken O'Brien to be the franchise quarterback. In 1983, Richard Todd would be traded to the Saints for a first-round pick, which then allowed Pat Ryan to be the mentor to O'Brien in the 1984 season. Though the Jets finished 7-9, O'Brien showed flashes, and for the next decade, O'Brien would cement himself as one of the best Jets quarterbacks of all time. Early on, O'Brien led the Jets to the playoffs in both 1985 and 1986, along with making the Pro Bowl in 1985. But despite their early success, O'Brien would never reach the career highs of his 1985 or 86 seasons ever again. After one more Pro Bowl season in 1991, in which he threw more picks than touchdowns, along with losing to the Houston Oilers in the wildcard round, this would be the beginning of the end for O'Brien, as the Jets then turned to second-round pick Browning Nagel to be the starting quarterback in 1992.
Elway scrambling, looking, running, diving inside the 5-yard line for a first down. Is he only 37?
While O'Brien started 106 games for the Jets, what really eluded them was playoff success, with O'Brien going 0-2 in the playoffs, while Jim Kelly, Tony Eason, Dan Marino, and John Elway all were starting Super Bowls around the same time, while O'Brien was struggling just to get to a 500 record. Even when he had his best season in 1985, he was outgunned by Dan Marino, who had a much better record throughout that time and passing statistics that same year. And his health was also better by Marino missing just 4 games compared to O'Brien's 15 games, which included the 1986 wildcard game, which was started by Pat Ryan, who won that game, which was the sole reason the Jets even won a playoff game during the O'Brien era in the first place. The following week after the Chiefs game, Pat Ryan suffered an injury, and during the game, O'Brien had to come in, but he lost to the Browns in overtime. After the 1993 season, in which he had a brief stint with the Packers and Eagles, Dan Marino, Jim Kelly, and John Elway were still around. Marino would last until the 99 season, Kelly until the 96 season, and Elway until the 98 season. By then, Elway had become a 2-time Super Bowl champion, Kelly had gone to 4 straight Super Bowls, and Marino would be one of the best passers in NFL history. Following the 1992 season, the Jets were looking to find a new quarterback after the Browning-Nagel experiment had fallen apart. In 1993, the Jets were still looking for their franchise guy, and just missed out on the top 2 prizes in that draft, being Drew Bledsoe and Rick Meyer. Still, the 1993 draft had some options, though, those being future Pro Bowlers Mark Brunell, Elvis Grbac, and Trent Green, all of whom would have success for multiple playoff teams over the next few years. The Jets, however, traded for Boomer Esiason to fill the gaping hole at quarterback. Almost immediately, the Jets turned around and had some success, with Boomer being a Pro Bowler, but after an 8-5 start, the Jets collapsed to finish the season at 8-8. That was about all Boomer would do with the Jets, as after 2 more mediocre seasons in 94 and 95, where he split times with backup Jack Trudeau and Bubby Brister, both of whom were mediocre at best, the Jets would sign Neil O'Donnell to a big contract. But after 2 failed seasons with O'Donnell himself, the Jets would go 5 seasons and had just started 6 starting quarterbacks over the last 5 years.
We're going to have many years of happiness, and with that, Bill Parcells, please take over.
In 1997, the Jets fans were given hope for their franchise's future after the team hired away Bill Parcells from the New England Patriots. Parcells had led the Giants to 2 Super Bowl victories during his 8-year career with the team. He then briefly retired in the early 90s before coming out of retirement to coach the Patriots from 1993 to 1996. In 1996, the team made the Super Bowl but lost to the Green Bay Packers and Brett Favre. Following the Super Bowl loss, Parcells jumped ship back to the New York Jets, and for the first time since 1990, was back in New York. And immediately, Jets fans were given hope as Parcells worked his magic. He took a 1-win team in 1996 to a 9-7 record and almost made the playoffs, but lost via tiebreaker to the Dolphins. The Jets actually in 1997 had a first-round pick. That was the first overall pick that year. The problem was the pick would have been Peyton Manning. Manning had decided to elect to go back to college for his 4th season. The Jets were forced to rock with Neil O'Donnell, who, despite having a decent season, though, was released due to his awful contract. The Jets had offseason and gave their fans even further hope by signing future Hall of Famer Curtis Martin and Pro Bowler Vinny Testaverde. Testaverde was known for having a 4,000-yard season with the Baltimore Ravens, who had just turned into an expansion franchise. Little did the Jets know how much excitement the 1998 season would bring for them.
2-on-3, fires in motion, up the tight end, Testaverde looking for fires, he's got it. Testaverde, 4th and goal at the 5. One on each side. Touchdown, New York, no flag. '60-yard run from Curtis Martin.
The Jets went 12-4 in 1998, and it was the first time since the 1969 season that the Jets had won the division. Both Vinny Testaverde and Curtis Martin were Pro Bowlers and were found to be the missing pieces, as it allowed Keyshawn Johnson to have a Pro Bowl season and another amazing year for the Jets. With Testaverde, the Jets would defeat the Jaguars in the divisional round 34-24 before advancing to the AFC Championship game to play the Denver Broncos and John Elway. It was the first time the Jets had gone to the AFC Championship game since the 1982 season. Sadly, just like in 1982, there would be no happy ending. The Jets would fall into a hole early at 17-7, and Vinny Testaverde would be unable to dig them out. The Jets would watch as the Broncos went on to defeat the Atlanta Falcons, with John Elway sailing off into the sunset. Despite the bitter ending, it was an overall great season for the Jets fans, as they had their best season in years, and it was the same roster the following season, and had fans hoping for a Super Bowl run.
Second team after Denver. Here's Martin again, lost the football, and covered it again. And holding his leg on the ground, is Vinny Testaverde.
One quarter, that's all it took. In 1999, Vinny Testaverde tore his Achilles in Week 1 of the season. Despite Tom Tupa's best performance in Week 1, the Jets lost that to start out 0-1. The Jets, however, managed to rally to 8-8, and it was especially impressive after a 1-6 start, and they actually finished the season one game back of a playoff spot. They had a combination of undrafted free agent quarterback Ray Lucas and Rick Meyer starting at quarterback. Ray Lucas, a former undrafted free agent out of Rutgers in 1996, ended up winning the final 4 games and was praised for his performance. Those wins came over the playoff-bound Dolphins, Bills, Seahawks, and Cowboys, one of whom was starting Pro Bowl quarterback Doug Flutie. The NFL media actually praised Parcells for this as well, as he got the most out of his 2 quarterbacks. Ray Lucas, who had a solid season under Parcells, had thrown just 7 total passes in his previous 3 years, and he had also never started an NFL game at that point either. After the season, the Parcells era fell apart. Pro Bowler Keyshawn Johnson left for the Buccaneers, followed by Bill Parcells' resignation. The Jets hired Bill Belichick, who then resigned less than a day later to take the Patriots' coaching job.
Which brings us to the podium, Gene Washington, the NFL Director of Football Operations, pinch hitting for the commissioner for the Jets' first round
With
pick.
the 18th pick in the first round, the Jets select quarterback Chad Pennington from Marshall University.
In the 2000 NFL Draft, the Jets had 4 first-round picks, and with their 18th overall pick, the Jets selected Marshall Chad Pennington to be the team's successor. The Jets fans were excited, as with Pennington, he wouldn't be rushed, as with Testaverde still on the roster, they could develop Pennington behind the veteran Pro Bowler. The Jets and first-year head coach Al Groh started off 6-1, but collapsed to finish the year at 9-7. Despite that, though, they had one of the most iconic games in Jets history with a comeback over the Miami Dolphins on primetime television. And despite the winning record, Testaverde threw 25 picks to just 21 touchdowns, and the Jets would fire Al Groh, who would then return to the college ranks to be a head coach. The following offseason, the Jets would hire defensive coordinator Herm Edwards to be the team's head coach, and in year 1 under Edwards, the Jets would make the playoffs but were quickly bounced by the Oakland Raiders. The team finished the year with a 10-6 record, and in the 2 years since Testaverde's torn Achilles, he had started all 33 games, including the playoff game. Following the 2002 season, Testaverde and the Jets would start off 2-5, before Herm Edwards would make his iconic speech to the media.
This is what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game. Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it. That's the great thing about sports. You play to win. And I don't care if you don't have any wins. You go play to win. When you start telling me it doesn't matter, then retire. Get out. Because it matters. That's unthinkable to me. That you have an opportunity in your lifetime to be a professional, that you think about quitting. See, you don't quit it, and you don't quit in sports. You retire. You don't get to quit. It's not an option. See, someone told me that a long time ago. That ain't even an option. The person told me that, he ain't here anymore. He died. You don't get that option. Now, you can retire. You can do that. But you ain't quitting. You ain't doing that.
Don't want to avoid that this time. The pass to Prevent. He's in for the score. Wayne Prevent on the slant. For the Jets, 2nd and goal. And there's the fake, the pass. And it is a touchdown to Richie Anderson.
The Jets rose from a 2-5 start in order to finish the year at 9-7, along with winning the AFC East title for the first time since the 1998 season, behind the emergence of quarterback Chad Pennington. In front of the New York faithful, the Jets shut out Peyton Manning and the Colts 41-0, with Pennington throwing for 3 touchdowns in the win. Though the team faltered in the next round against the Oakland Raiders, who went to the Super Bowl later that season, this season was still called a success, as it gave the Jets fans hope that Edwards and Pennington would eventually deliver on a promise and lead the Jets to a Super Bowl victory. In 6 seasons since Pennington's 2002 season, the Jets would return to the playoffs just 2 more times under his tenure, and during those 2 seasons they were also his best, those being in 2004 and 2006. By 2007, a wrist and shoulder injury had limited Pennington's ability to throw the ball, and he was also forced to miss 31 total games during that 6-year span. During those 31 games, Jets backups had a mix of varying success, with the most successful being former Cowboys starter Quincy Carter, who filled in for Pennington during the 2004 season for 3 games. Pennington was also released after the 2007 season, which marked the end of the Pennington era, and the Jets' search for a consistent starter continuing.
Giant news in the National Football League, in the sporting world altogether. Brett Favre traded from the Green Bay Packers to the New York Jets for a conditional 4th-round pick. We'll get into those conditions in a little bit with Adam Schefter, momentarily with Adam Schefter. But what you need to know, Brett Favre traded from the Packers to the New York Jets for a conditional 4th-round pick. Quickly, the Packers and the Jets brass already on board issuing statements, their feelings about Favre being traded to the Jets. First one, Woody Johnson, the Jets chairman and CEO. Quote, "I am looking forward to seeing Brett Favre in a New York Jets uniform. He represents a significant addition to this franchise, also reflects our commitment to putting the best possible product on the field."
The excitement for the upcoming season behind the Brett Favre trade was something not seen in years for Jets fans. Favre, who was coming up a deep playoff run in 2007, gave Jets fans hope he could deliver on a Super Bowl championship that same year. Prior to his arrival in New York, Favre had been the Green Bay primary starter since the 1992 season. The anticipation came to a head just in week 1 of the season, as the Jets were facing off against former quarterback Chad Pennington and the Miami Dolphins, and in his first game, Brett Favre would put on a show for the fan base.
For the Jets from the 44. Bernius Coles is not in. Great play action fake. Favre going long for Kotchery. Kotchery hauls it in at the 10, and he is in for the touchdown. What a fake by Favre. Big rush. Favre gets away, lobs it in the air. Someone's there. Oh, it's caught at the goal line for a touchdown. He puts up a jump ball, and Stuckey brings it down for the snap from the 38. Here comes the heat. Favre gets it away. Nice catch by Kotchery. 1 month of work as a New York Jet quarterback. Coming in on August the 7th, he arrived. Here he goes, throwing right away, and gets a completion to Bernius Coles.
An umbrella defense, so they're going to try to take away the outside.
Pennington from the pocket. Lobs it to the corner. Revis with the coverage, and Revis pulls it down one. Jets had him so highly rated a year ago out of Pittsburgh.
Well, Jim, he showed it last year.
They did.
We saw it when he played against Terrell Owens at Thanksgiving Day down in Dallas.
To simplify it, the performance by Brett Favre during the game gave Jets fans a lot of hope, along with a taste of what was to come. The fans' optimism also grew as they became favorites to win the AFC East following Tom Brady tearing his ACL, and things had begun to fall into place for the Jets after Favre had an amazing start with an 8-3 record, along with having solid statistics as the Jets' starting quarterback. Though despite the amazing start, following an injury to Favre, which struggled down the stretch, the Jets would finish at 9-7 and out of the playoffs. They were eliminated from the playoffs in the final game of the season by the AFC East champion Miami Dolphins, who were led by Chad Pennington, and who that season had one of the best seasons of his career. After the season, Favre would quote-unquote retire once again, but while his retirement didn't last long, the Jets continued their endless search for another franchise quarterback.
Cleveland traded the 5th pick to the New York Jets, and with the 5th pick in the 2009 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Mark Sanchez, quarterback, USC.
Here's a kid, he's 6'2 1/8", 227. That's the same weight as Stafford. Only has 16 starts. Rose Bowl MVP. I thought that was his best game of the season. He got better and better. He's got a great skill set. Only 16 collegiate starts, 41 touchdowns, again 16 interceptions. And here's my belief, guys. They spent the offseason getting better on defense. Bart Scott, Jim Leonard, Lito Shepard, Marquise Douglas. Now they're taking this draft and addressing the biggest need on their football team and the most important position on the football team.
The Jets, with the selection of Sanchez, had taken the second-best quarterback of the 2009 NFL Draft. During his rookie year, Sanchez would have awful passing stats, throwing for just 12 touchdowns to 20 picks. But despite that, with an elite defense and a dual-headed running game of Thomas Jones and Sean Green, the Jets would sneak into the playoffs with a 9-7 record as the 6th seed.
The Rex Ryan era and Mark Sanchez era is off to a pretty strong start. It didn't look like they were going to get there a couple weeks ago, but caught a break from the Colts, took advantage tonight.
Similar to 1982, the Jets would have a surprising playoff run with upsets over both the Bengals and San Diego Chargers, though they would fall in the AFC Championship game to the Indianapolis Colts. Despite that, Sanchez showed solid growth in the playoffs, along with throwing a few clutch touchdowns. The next offseason, the Jets were featured on HBO's Hard Knocks and were the top team to talk about. They added free agent running back LaDainian Tomlinson and wide receiver San Antonio Holmes to an offense which already featured Green and Braylon Edwards. In 2010, the Jets went 11-5 and once again made the playoffs behind a much improved Sanchez, and once again another top offense and defense. Once again, the Jets would make the AFC Championship game with upsets over the Colts and rival Tom Brady's Patriots, though the upset over the Patriots in the divisional round would be the high point of the Sanchez era, as they would lose to the Steelers the following week. Following an 8-8 finish in the 2011 season, the Jets would acquire Broncos quarterback Tim Tebow to add competition. Sanchez had his confidence rocked by Tebow, who sparked a media storm due to fans wanting him to start over Sanchez, with fans chanting for Tebow after every incompletion. The Jets refused and stuck with Sanchez while using Tebow as a Taysom Hill type of player. The worst moment of the Sanchez era came on national television on Thanksgiving Day when Sanchez created the butt fumble. This led to media and fans alike mocking Sanchez for his struggles. Following an awful performance against the Arizona Cardinals in which they failed to score with Sanchez under center, he was benched for 7th-round pick Greg McElroy, who led a victory. The following week, Rex Ryan officially benched Sanchez for McElroy. While this only lasted a week as Sanchez finished out the year, Sanchez would never really get another chance. In 2013, during the preseason game, he would tear his ACL, ending his year.
With the 39th pick in the 2013 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Geno Smith, quarterback, West Virginia.
In Smith's rookie year with the team, he would go 8-8, but while he was extremely raw as a passer, the Jets thought they had potential in Smith. As a result, they would pass on Pro Bowlers Teddy Bridgewater and Derek Carr in the 2014 NFL Draft. The hope was short-lived as Smith, after a rough 1-9 start, was benched mid-year for backup Michael Vick, who snapped the team's 9-game losing streak. The Jets, however, finished 4-12, and Rex Ryan was fired. In 2015, Geno Smith had his jaw broken by a teammate, which forced him to start Ryan Fitzpatrick. And as a result, Fitzpatrick would throw for the most touchdowns in Jets history while going 10-6, but was sadly missing the playoffs as a result of losing to Rex Ryan and the Buffalo Bills. The Jets' hopeful season, however, ended the next year after Fitzpatrick was given an extension and struggled. The Jets tried to give Geno one more chance that year, but he tore his ACL in October of 2016. The rest of the season was started by Fitzpatrick once again and 4th-round pick Bryce Petty. They refused to start 2nd-round pick Christian Hackenberg. And once again, the following season, with Josh McCown this time under center, the Jets would struggle, going 5-11.
With the 3rd pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Sam Darnold, quarterback, USC.
From the moment this pick was made, almost everyone knew that Sam Darnold was given to fail with the Jets organization. After a mediocre season in which the Jets went 4-12, Darnold missed the beginning of the 2019 season with mono. Upon his return, the Jets finished the season at 7-9, and as a result, Darnold would have his best career that year. In 2020, the Jets went 2-14, but missed out on top prospect Trevor Lawrence. And by 2020, the Jets coaching staff had ruined Darnold's confidence, as the QB mentioned he was beginning to see ghosts. In the following draft, the Jets settled on Zach Wilson as the 2nd overall pick, and almost immediately regret would occur. Despite a decent season by Wilson as a rookie, in year 2 he failed to progress as a quarterback and was immature, along with being given multiple chances to revive his career. In 2022, he single-handedly took a 5-2 start by an elite Jets defense to collapse and miss the playoffs and finish the year at 7-10. Following the season, the Jets would acquire Aaron Rodgers from the Green Bay Packers in exchange for multiple first-round picks. In 2023, the Jets were once again featured on the Hard Knocks show for HBO. All the hype for the upcoming season was coming together. A top defense on top of giving 2nd-year wide receiver Garrett Wilson a good quarterback to catch passes from gave fans a lot of optimism. In Week 1 against the Buffalo Bills, Rodgers led the Jets onto the field with the American flag to a standing ovation from the fans. And for the Jets fans, their hope would only be so brief.
Protection breaks down and time runs out. Down goes Rodgers and the sack for Leonard Floyd. new this year, and after spending 3 years with the Rams, the former first-round pick of the Bears, and now Rodgers sits down.
All right, everybody, calm down. Let's not let your heart.
A loss of 10 on the play, and hopefully the Jets are thinking that's the only loss on that play. See what happened at the end of it.
Take a look here at the very end, and hard to see. Of course, he had the calf issue in training camp, but here's a little better look as far as what might have happened for him to go back down to the ground.
And he's coming out of the game. And that means that a few plays into game one, Zach Wilson.
Almost identical to the 1999 season, Aaron Rodgers had torn his Achilles, similar to how Vinny Testaverde's season ended that year. Sadly, unlike in 1999, there was no Ray Lucas to save the Jets' season. After a 4-3 start, they would fall apart to a 7-10 record. The team also had to watch as their former starting quarterback Joe Flacco led the Cleveland Browns to the playoffs after being signed off the streets. The main culprit the last few seasons have been the Jets' backup quarterback position being awful. The Jets this season used Trevor Siemian, Tim Boyle, and Zach Wilson in place of Aaron Rodgers. The Jets would stick with Wilson for the bulk of the season and did not bench him until it was already too late to do so. As of making this video, the New York Jets fanbase has hope once again for the Jets as they go into the season. After upgrading the quarterback position in which they signed journeyman Tyrod Taylor, a reliable backup quarterback who has started for multiple franchises over his 14-year career, the Jets also used a 5th-round pick on Florida State's Jordan Travis, a quarterback who had fallen in the draft due to an injury and who many saw as a steal for the Jets. This season also marked the end of the Zach Wilson experiment as he was traded to the Broncos for just a 7th-round pick. With a much improved quarterback room, if Rodgers were to go down, the Jets have a much better chance of making the playoffs with either Taylor or Travis under center. With a great defense, all the quarterbacks need to do is simply game manage a game, as the defense was the top 10 defense last year. Hopefully, 2024 is the year the Jets finally snap the longest American sports playoff drought, and maybe one of these guys could finally give the Jets sustained quarterback success that they have been looking for the last 60 years. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video, and if so, I hope you enjoy it and would love to subscribe. One more thing I want to mention is that I have plans for more videos similar to these to be made over the next few months. And as the months go on, I plan to expand this channel more and more, and I hope you guys will be along with me for the journey. Until then, I hope you guys have a lovely day, and I'll see you then.